All right. bringing in a lot of energy for this one.
We're back.
All right, welcome back to the Daily Traders Podcast. This is episode number 37. I'm your host, Mark. This is my co-host, Jack.
What's up, everybody?
And we're back.
How's it going?
Look, you had a great start to your day today. I want to hop right into it. Tell us how your day started with a phone call.
Yeah, this is, it's funny. Nowadays, my mornings normally start by getting a call, whether it's my contractor or someone else. I have other companies going on, and we'll probably talk a little bit about this
you're
company.
You're a busy guy.
I have this other company I have going on. But anyways, so I wake up at 8 a.m. this morning from a call from my bank, and they tell me, you need to look at your account right now. It has been massively overdrawn. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh my God.
So look, this is what I woke up to. All right, I'm on my mobile banking.
Oh my God, $46,900?
Yes. Dude. So this is what I wake up to. And this is how my mornings start nowadays. So immediately I'm like,
your morning start and losing negative 47,000.
Yeah. So I'm already red on the day. So I call the other two partners in the business who have access to this account. I'm like, hey guys, do you have any idea where this $47,000 went? And they're like, no, do you? And I'm like, oh shit. And like, this is kind of like my responsibility. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just lost $47,000. Where's this money? So all of a sudden now I'm going through the statements on the mobile banking app and I don't see this, like the money trail anywhere. So I'm trying to find the money trail. So I'm thinking like, where in the world did this money go? And I just remembered I did pay like roughly $42,000 for a deposit for construction. I'll put like a screenshot up on the screen. I'll send it to the media guy. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's this money. But anyways, I have a $200,000 line of credit out to fund this construction cost. So the way it works when you have a line of credit, you have to take money out of the line of credit, put it into a checking account, and then you can write a check. So I took whatever it was, like $46,000 out of the account to write a check to my contractor. And I did it. I wrote the check and went to the contractor. He told me he got it. It was all good. But what happened was, and now I'm finding this out, is my accountant wrote the check. I have I have a TD account for the line of credit, and then I have a Key Bank business checking account for like the business and everything. Yeah. But what happened was my accountant wrote a check from the Key Bank business account and not the TD account. So the TD account all of a sudden had $46,000 in it that wasn't being used. And then the Key Bank account had like $10K in it or something. And then that money got taken from that account and sent to the contractor. But what's crazy to me is that KeyBank let me overdraft my account by $47,000.
That's insane.
And they didn't even bounce the check. Like I could have went and bought a car and they wouldn't have done anything.
Crazy.
So anyways, long story short, I figured it out. I just had to wire the money from the TD Bank account to the KeyBank account, but the money was meant to come out of the TD Bank account. So that was like, what an interesting way to start your day.
Yeah, I've never woken up to that. That's scary. Jeez. Well, that's kind of like the harsh realities of being an entrepreneur. You know, like we were talking about that earlier today. It's like, you have to go through some shit like this.
Yeah, it's like stressful shit.
I think everyone thinks that it's easy to be an entrepreneur. You're just going to start making a ton of money. But there are ups and downs. And the ups and downs when it comes to like running your own company, you're not just going to go straight up. It's up and down. It's like riding a roller coaster.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So quick disclaimer. We are not financial advisors. Nothing said in this podcast should be taken as financial advice. The full disclaimers is in the description below. On with the episode.
And it's like one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur is like how sporadic your days are. Like no two of my days are ever the same. I'm always like doing different. Like if you have like a 9 to 5, right, and you're working, you have like a very detailed job of like what your duties and responsibilities are. You are like necessarily or pretty much doing the same thing day in, day out. But with like what I'm doing in entrepreneurship, it's like I have no clue. Like I might wake up by my bank teller telling me that I'm minus 47K, or it's a call from my contractor, or we gotta like do a podcast. I don't know, but it's definitely like. I wake up in the morning, I have like a schedule, but I do not know what's gonna come up. Like the most random stuff always comes up. Yep. And some days I'll be like, oh, cool, I have nothing to do today, and then I'll get one email, and then the rest of my day is booked.
But that's the best thing about like being an entrepreneur, doing your own stuff. Like, I love the fact that I wake up and I have a general idea of what I'm gonna do on the day. I have like a calendar, but I really have no idea what's gonna happen. And like my days are packed. I know your days are packed, and my days are spent trading, okay, because that's a lot of what I do. Running the company, shooting the YouTube video, shooting the podcast, doing this, working on the internals of the company, because I have multiple companies, and now you're working on a bunch of stuff. You're not just trading, you're doing a lot of things on your own too. Yeah. And it's crazy balance. Like you're doing a lot. And so I'm impressed by what you balance. And we were talking about last year. I think your progression over the last year is crazy. So I want to rewind, talk about last year. Yeah. You flew out when I was in Myrtle Beach to visit, just to hang out for a couple days.
This is how like first, this is before I even like thought of me joining the Daily Traders as a brand was like a possibility. We were just, we were kind of connected. I was into trading, you were into trading, and you said, hey, you can fly out to like my place. I have like a penthouse in Myrtle Beach. I was like, oh, cool, let's do it. So I flew out for like a weekend, and I remember I have a Snapchat memory of it.
At the airport.
Yeah, at the airport.
Yeah, I remember this.
And you pull up. I don't even know if you told me that you got a McLaren, but you pull up and you're in a freaking McLaren. I'm like, holy shit.
With the top down.
With the top down, like the cleanest white McLaren I've ever seen. And I grew up in a town of 3,500 people as a population. I've never I don't even think I've ever seen a McLaren up until, I was in Florida, so like I was seeing cool cars and whatnot, but I've never like been in a McLaren.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like we're driving around McLaren, and not only was it like really cool for me, just like because I like cars and being a car, but it was also like, you're a year and a half, 2 years older than me. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, this is possible. Like here's this kid, he's a year and a half older than me. He really started like putting his grind to work, 2 years ago, and look where he is now. So to me, like, bro, you were like I was always motivated and I always like knew what I wanted in life, but when I went back from that trip, it was like I downshifted and I freaking went for it.
Okay, I have a question. How do we get people watching this to get that same, like, I guess, boost of motivation? What would you call it?
Yeah, it's like seeing that it's possible, but like actually like it's one thing like seeing someone, with a cool car, or seeing, a 20-year-old drive down in like a G-Wagon passing you by the street and like seeing like, oh shit, like that person did it. But it's another thing like wholeheartedly like believing that it's possible.
How can people experience that feeling without, having to go drive in a McLaren with someone?
Dude, social media has like really changed the game in a sense, and I feel like you see a lot like younger entrepreneurs. For example, like, obviously what we're doing is we're in a professional world. We're working with a lot of older individuals. Yeah. And the amount of times I hear, holy shit, you're so young. You're so young, this and that. But then I'm thinking to myself, like, we did a podcast with like the 16-year-old kid or 15-year-old kid or something, making like $12K a week or something. And the thing is, like, the motivated entrepreneur who's actually successful is getting like younger and younger and younger. And that's because of social media, because people are seeing, oh shit, this 18-year-old kid has a Lambo. It's possible.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I feel like a 15-year-old kid also does not give a single fuck what anyone thinks on social media. You know what I mean? Can we kind of run with that too?
Well, also,
like it takes some balls to get on social media and post your shit and hype yourself up.
Yeah, there's an interesting conversation here because it's some people, to put yourself out on social media is one thing. It's also, there's leverage to having a personal brand and growing a personal brand, which we'll talk about personal brands and how to do that. But then it's like, there's also so much, distraction when you go on social media and you start scrolling, and you were telling me you only follow like, 100 people on Instagram? Yeah.
I'll actually get into that and like what and like how that's helped me and like how you can use that to your advantage. I just wanted to wrap up that last talk by saying, like a kind of like a mindset shift that you can do, which I did to myself was, probably like after I saw you that first day, it's really easy to see shit on social media and see this young kid with a Lambo or this young kid on a private jet or buying a Rolex watch or like buying like a 5,000 table at a club, whatever it may be, and say, oh, it's fake.
Yeah.
Oh, it's mentorship money.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not actually true. And by discrediting the other person and saying it's fake, you're doing yourself a disfavor. Because shit, maybe it is fake. Maybe that kid actually is not, it is daddy's money and he's flexing daddy's money, or he's doing this, or like he spent all of his money to rent a Lambo for the day to make himself look rich. But by saying, oh, it's not possible, all of a sudden you're making it seem impossible for yourself. But if you look at that and you say, oh shit, like this is motivating and I can do this, all of a sudden, like that pushes you forward. It's kind of like the analogy of like, seeing someone on social media having success and then giving them this credit, opposed to saying, oh shoot, this person actually did this, it's possible, is kind of like that me sitting in your McLaren analogy, where if you sit in that McLaren and say, he did it, I can do it, you look at someone on social media and say, they can do it, I can do it, that's really how you kind of wholeheartedly start to believe that it is possible. And that's, like as an entrepreneur, that's what it takes, is that like almost unreasonable faith in yourself. Like,
but I think a lot of people also see that and they make those reasons, they put those reasons in their head, like, oh, it's daddy's money, oh, it's fake, because it makes them feel better because they're not there in their life.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Yeah, and I used to do that. Like I used to, and when I still sometimes catch myself doing that. Like, oh damn, like I see like a kid who's 18 flying around. Like I remember there was a kid who was like 18 on a PJ. He was on like that wealth page or whatever. And I was like, damn, it's probably daddy's money. I was like, what the fuck am I saying? Like, this kid, like, he probably honestly, like, got lucky, like, was 14 years old, started grinding and just I mean, part of it was also luck, but part of it was just like determination and starting at a young age.
Yeah. So catch yourself.
Yeah.
If you see someone living this lifestyle, whatever, don't take it as a jealousy thing and think he's fake just to make yourself feel better. Be like, oh, all right, he's doing it. He's doing this. His kid's doing well. And I can do that too. Like you gotta, it's all this mindset stuff, which is interesting. I want to talk about mindset later, but I also want to wrap up the Instagram topic.
Oh yeah. So I was saying, like, if you go and look at my Instagram, I think I follow like a little north of 100 people, like 120 people on Instagram, and I see other people's Instagrams that are following like 1,000, 2,000 people. And first of all, bottom line, social media like is a time suck. Like it is so easy to just go on TikTok and scroll for hours and hours. Same with Instagram, Reels, YouTube, whatever it may be. And you can either use that to your advantage or use that to your disadvantage.
So like a good kind of like hook here is like positive way to use social media and negative way to use social media.
Yeah.
Like how do you leverage social media in a positive way and not let it negatively affect your life?
One of the things that I implemented was I went through everyone. I was following like 600 people, and I unfollowed everyone that like really wasn't providing value. And I kept like my like, closer friends because I care and I want to see what they're doing. And then I just followed whether it's like education, mentors, or groups that I'm interested in. I just followed those people. And then I don't allow myself to go on like the explore page when I'm on social media. And I just only stick to the homepage. And when I'm out of the homepage and I've ate up all my content for the day, then I get off social media.
Okay.
So like that's one of the ways, because a lot of people are like like if you go on your screen time and you see that you're on TikTok 4 hours a day, you're on Instagram 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like you should probably get off.
Yeah.
You should probably like fix something.
There's a better use of time than that
Exactly.
4 hours a day. Pretty basic. All right, and with that, let's go to a quick break.
Hey guys, I just want to take a quick second to ask you guys, the viewers, a little tiny favor. It would mean absolute universes to Mark and I if you
And
would,
me.
and the media guy, if you would go down, leave a review, like, share. We put a lot of effort into these shows, and we're really trying to bring on the best guests for you. So when you guys like, share, it really, really helps us out. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you,
With
guys.
that said,
It would
we love you guys.
It would make me very, very happy. So
we'd
go
really
ahead and
appreciate
do it.
Thanks. All right, so this episode is sponsored by thedailytraders.com. Now, if you guys are interested in learning how to trade in the stock market and seeing my exact trades, okay, those of you who are interested, I will put a link in the description below where I post my entries and my exits, and you'll get access to 30 plus videos breaking down my entire trading system. But hope you guys are enjoying the episode, and let's get on with it. All right. And we're back. So I remember when I started making like 10,000 a month, 20,000, 30, 40,000, 50,000 a month, right? You progress. And it was fast for me. Like I started making a lot of money fast. It came all at once. And I started spending money on dumb shit. Like I bought a sweatshirt. It was like a $1,200 sweatshirt. I bought like, it's just stupid stuff, $1,000 sweatpants. And I now realize that like learning from when you get money fast, you spend it on dumb shit and you don't know the value of money. I had a good, kind of perception for, the value of a dollar because I did work a normal job for a bit. But then you lose that when you make all this money fast and then you start spending it because it's not, you don't think, oh, do I need this? You're just like, I can't afford it, so I'm going to buy it. And so you just start buying whatever. And like this summer, and I've even thought since this summer, I've changed as a person. Like we would go out like every other night this summer and spend $500. You know how many like $1,000 dinners we had this summer? And like we had all of our friends around, and like I loved helping. Like if I brought my friends out, I'd pay, right? I'd pay. We'd bring 10 people out. I'd pay like a couple grand for dinner or
we were just spending dumb money this summer.
I think that's it.
Like we were just wasting money. Like, do you remember that one night it was just me and you going out. We're just gonna have a nice casual dinner for once. And I was talking to this girl at the time, and she wanted to hang out. And I said, all right, Mark and I are going out to dinner. You can bring some friends if you want. So she ends up pulling up with like 7 friends. So
you didn't add on the security part. I had 2 security guards with us.
And at that point we were like talking about like getting like security for some reason, because like one of our buddies was like, oh, you should get security.
So we
were like, oh, let's get security. So we had 2 So what ended up happening, I remember walking down the road, it's you and me. There's like 6 or 8 girls behind us, and then like 2 security guards, bro. And we go to like this like super nice Italian restaurant. It was like a really good. We like had like this whole section of the restaurant.
We got the whole back.
Yeah, we got the whole back, and this is just like the dumb shit, like the way we were spending money this summer, and
what I've learned from.
Yeah, exactly. And we get the bill, and you pick it up, and you pay it, and then you go to the bathroom. And I think the girls were just curious. They looked at the bill, and one of the girls was like, "Oh my gosh, Jack, look, like your friend left. He accidentally wrote an extra 0." I think you tipped like $300.
Yeah.
I think the bill was probably like $700 or something. You tipped like 300. It was like, Jack, your friend left an extra zero by accident. Like, I'm gonna raise it for him. I was like, oh no, like he meant to do that.
He does that. Yeah.
I was like, oh, he does that.
That's funny.
But
It was a crazy, yeah. And that is like when you make a ton of money, you go and spend it just because you can, and you have these experiences which you learn from. And I don't regret anything. Like that was all like good experiences, good memories, and fun stories.
yeah.
On to the next thing here. So back on the topic of like making money and making money fast. I actually made my first million at 19 years old. All right. And the feeling when you open your account and see $1 million in your account.
Walk me through like that first time you had 7 figures in account and that feeling you had. Like opening, like, because there was a point where you swiped on your brokerage,
yeah, but
and then there's $1 million.
But it wasn't like you'd think. It wasn't like this crazy, because it came fast. But when you look at that number, it's just a number, and it doesn't do it. That's why you see that number and you want to spend it. The more money you have, it makes you, in the weirdest way, want to spend it. And so you see that and you're like, oh, I'll go buy an Audi 8. I'll go buy the supercar. But I didn't have any like incredible like moment because it's just a number. It's really just a number. But it
must have been a little emotional though, because like your whole life as an entrepreneur, like you were working, like you fucking worked.
But my
your
goal
ass
was
off.
never to become a millionaire. Like I feel like $1 million isn't a lot, and having made millions of dollars, it's like if you set a milestone of making $1 million and you think you're gonna hit that amount and look at your account and be like, holy shit, I made it. Like at that point, your mindset, you're already so far past that point. Maybe if I got $1 million put into my account overnight, but when you're growing up to that and then you have it, then you're like, okay, we're just gonna go right through that.
Because you were at 800,000 before. And then
you get what I mean? It's not like honestly, you just open up. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like you're not just. If someone was to give me $1 million in my checking account and I only had 10,000, and then I looked at it, I'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But when you see it building and building and building, then you don't have that like magical feeling that you would think you get.
That's interesting. I thought it would be like more of an emotion, because I haven't made $1 million yet. I will, but I would imagine it would have been like a little more like I've had this goal, because it's like it is a milestone.
It's just a number. It's just a number you go through. Like
yeah,
it just keeps going up.
That's interesting. It's really interesting. Like your take on like really million. It wasn't that crazy for you, because all of a sudden like you just rolled over to like, let's just get back to business. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, oh, I made $1 million. Cool,
let's go on vacation.
We're done. Yeah, it was like you continued working, you continued growing the business, and then all of a sudden it became. When did your businesses? Because when you used to be just trading, that's how you first made your money. That $1 million was through trading, but then all of a sudden you got into education and then social media, and then it got complicated, like tax wise, right? You started working with like you have a whole team now of like corporate lawyers, CPAs, SEC lawyers, just like the whole bundle of it. And then, like how was that transition from going like a simple like trading, self-employment form to all of a sudden, you're paying thousands in lawyer fees and you have like a very complicated corporate structure between all your different companies?
I mean, with more, it's funny. Like obviously it's like more money. It does, when you get more money, it does make things more difficult. Like you think everything's going to be easier. And it's like you have freedom and you can buy things, but it does become harder the more money you make in a way, in certain aspects. Because when it was just myself and it was just me trading, just one income stream, it was a whole lot easier. There was simple. They're easy to file your taxes. I didn't need attorneys. I didn't need to, I've spent so much money on attorneys. I've spent so many hours with attorneys. I've spent so many hours with accountants, business advisors, setting up these different entities, creating these accounts, learning how taxes work, learning how to operate companies, individually. And all of that is just, it's a lot, it's a headache, it's a learning curve, it's a process of learning. My day-to-day, when it was just trading,
was so different. I mean,
it was easy. It was easy. And now it's like, there's so many different, it's not that it's like, oh, it's easy, it was easy, and I want it to be easy again.
A really interesting take is like, our kind of bread and butter is trading. That's what our whole community is around. That's what you and I got our start doing, and we're still doing. And the difference between trading and like owning a business is so different. Trading is honestly like a simple job. Like I hate to say it, but trading is simple in terms of like having a strategy and perfecting it and just going in and day out. But
it's like the hardest, simplest
job.
But
it's not really exact. It's the hardest, simplest job. That's the best way to put it. Trading is the hardest, simplest job, because the actually making money trading is super hard, but the actual logistics of it is pretty simple. You show up, boop, 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 trade,
Yeah, you have one account and you give your 1099, give your statement.
Yeah, that's literally it. But
your
but with businesses, all of a sudden you're managing employees. Now you have to deal with compliance. Now you're dealing with taxes. Like, and the amount of like ways to save money in taxes, but also at the same time get burnt by taxes is freaking wild. So for example, this is how I'm saving tons of money this year on my taxes using the 2553 form. So what the 2553 form is, it elects your LLC as an S corp. So even though it's an LLC, I'm taxed as I'm an S corp. So I reap the benefits of being taxed as a corporation. So anyways, the way this works is in Maine, there's a 15% self-employment tax. So let's say I make $1 million, I'm gonna pay $150,000 on top of the tax I'm already paying just because I'm self-employed. I own my own business. So, and we have to have a Maine LLC because of it's a medical company and there's a lot of logistics that go along with that. But anyways, that's beside from the point. So the 2553 form elects you as an S corp. And what you can do is you can give yourself a super small salary. So as a medical CEO, my salary is only like $30,000. And what happens is that $30,000 is subject to that 15% self-employment tax, but all the money above that $30,000 is distributed as dividends, and it's not subject. It's still subject to like federal income tax, but not that 15%. So all of a sudden, instead of getting, let's say we're planning to do north of $1.2 million of profit this year. Instead of paying $150,000 plus in self-employment tax, I'm only going to pay, there's 3 members of the company. So they're all getting $30,000 salaries too.
Okay.
And because we're a new company, we're able to really decrease it. So for example, if, we're a medical company, we've been around for 10 years, we can't go pay a doctor $30,000 a year because the IRS is like, all right, come on, dude. like we see what you're doing. But because it's a new company, we're able to say it's high risk. We don't know if we're going to make money, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We're taking a super small salary.
Okay.
And then all that money is distributed and it's not subject. You completely dodge that 15%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I put out a poll on the Instagram, a questionnaire. Let's see, Eco Marl Bertu.
Shout out.
I absolutely butchered that username. As hardest part of learning about stocks. What do you guys got?
I can answer this one. It's not actually learning. It's finding the places where to learn from. Because the thing about trading stocks is that there's so much information out there. If you look up how to trade stocks, you will be blasted with thousands and thousands, probably millions of videos on how to trade stocks and articles and websites and mentorship groups. It's about finding what works for you because it's a hefty subject, like just reading about stocks and learning different strategies. It's really hard to just learn that all day long. So finding strategies that work for you, whether it's podcasting, reading books, maybe diving into your network or buying some type of mentorship group. The key to success in trading stocks is obviously knowledge and how you get that knowledge. So finding ways and sources to obtain that is really like what's so vital to that process.
You were talking about books and that, people are so against books.
Oh
and
my
by,
gosh. Yeah. I have a hot take on this.
Let's hear this because by being, like, oh, I don't read, being anti-book, you're almost sacrificing, if you will, like
in my opinion, like the
want.
biggest pitfalls to young entrepreneurs or like people who like say, oh, I want to make a bunch of money, blah, 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 is that they don't read books. I hear this all the time. They say like, oh, I don't read, I just watch YouTube videos. And the thing to me is like, the books are like the largest store of knowledge in the world. It goes back, you don't have YouTube videos from 1910, right? And some of this knowledge is everlasting, evergreen. And by cutting yourself off from reading books, you're doing yourself a disfavor because this is knowledge that is going to help you, and knowledge is power in the sense that the more knowledge you have, the more value you can bring to a company or a startup or your own company, whatever it may be. And books are the best way to do that. So me personally, like you need to, if you want to be successful, like I believe wholeheartedly you need to read books.
All right.
All right, another person asked how to be successful as an entrepreneur at a young age. We've talked a lot about this before, but I like this very broad, open-ended question.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I personally get this question like all the time from mostly my peers. Like kids in college are like, "Hey, I want to, start making my own money. I want to start doing something for myself. How do I start?" And the answer to that is like, because people, see, I have like 4 different companies right now, and they're like, how do I even get one going? And honestly, the answer to that, and this kind of goes back to our last question that we just answered, is knowledge. And like the only way you can do that is by educating yourself. So finding podcasts you like, books you like, mentorship groups you like. And then what happens is like one thing will lead to another. For example, when I like my first when I dipped my toes in the waters of like entrepreneurship, it was the Bigger Pockets podcast for real estate. And then I would listen, and then they would always ask the guests what their favorite books were. And whenever they said the books were, if I liked the sound of it, I would buy the book and I would read it. And then eventually I bought The Intelligent Investor. And then that got me into stocks.
Okay.
And then I started buying stock books.
Yeah.
And then so I have like different like genres of like different phases of my entrepreneur journey of like books in my office, like mindset books, trading books, real estate books. And then one thing will lead to another. And then, I got into the trading thing. And then like once you get started, there's no stopping you as long as you just keep going.
I have a question. Do you think,
Dude, I'm gonna get fucking rashed for what I just said.
What?
I said, as soon as you get started, there's no stopping you as long as you keep going.
I missed that, dude. I was trying
Fuck it, we're leaving it in.
Dude, there's no
Wait,
fucking
honestly,
way.
let me explain. I think that came out wrong. I just want to say, like, once, like, you can't, if you stop going, you're gonna, like, if you stop trying, you're gonna stop moving forward. But like, once you start learning and getting involved in different types of businesses, side hustles, whatever.
But
it's just gonna keep growing on its
But
own.
at what point do you quit? Because I read this book, back to books, Seth Godin.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
called The Dip. And he talks about how like you get stuck in what you're doing and you get so persistent in trying it and trying it and trying it. But at a certain point, you keep trying it and you're just going to keep, it's like, picture a dip. You start out, you dip down, and then there's no way that no one.
Yeah, well, I think that.
And what he says in the book is like at a certain point you have to realize when to quit because quitting is the best thing you can do because you're plateaued. But by quitting and starting the next thing, that could be what gets you out of the dip.
Quitting is like an interesting word for like what he's referring. I think it's more like transitioning. Like quitting to me is like just give up, like just go.
But
work
he
at
says in the
McDonald's,
book,
you
I
know?
could be wrong, but I read this like 4 or 5 years ago. He says quitting is like one of the best things you could do. And I remember I was working on another company. It was something else. And
It's drop shipping, right?
Yeah, I was drop shipping,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I should say that. I would rather not like promote drop shipping. At a certain point, I was pushing. I was just draining money, and I had to decide like, all right, am I going to keep doing this for the next year or two and not get anywhere? Maybe I could get somewhere, or am I just going to stop tomorrow, wake up, and never think about it again? And that's what I did with that because it was weird. I don't think I've talked about this. I talked about I think reading this book, but not how I actually went from doing this thing to immediately this thing that I've been working on for a couple months and poured a lot of money into to the next day stopping, being completely done.
But then you immediately went into trading, right?
I was trading actually at the same time, but I was trying to find other
Exactly.
income
So
streams.
it's like
And so it was one of those things where I was like, it was almost a distraction.
Yeah.
Because then you also have to be like, all right, if I'm working on one thing, how many things can I put on my plate? What is going to be a distraction? Should I just put all my effort into one thing? And so I did kind of go off and try to do this other thing and then realize, this isn't working. I'm putting all my money into this. I just need to stop and I need to focus on one thing and become the best at that one thing. And once I am, then I can focus on something else.
Yeah, I heard Alex Hormozy say that, and that kind of like really spoke to me. I had like earlier this year, I'd say probably 3 months ago, I had so much different shit going on, dude. Like so many like little stupid things I got myself involved. And you've actually kind of told me this before. Like I see opportunity, I just want to grab it. I see any like type of business opportunity, I just want to go for it. And that was actually something I struggled with for a while because every single opportunity that came to me, I would take. So all of a sudden January rolls around and I have 8 different little side projects going on.
Yeah.
And then what happens is I would miss a meeting for one of them. And then the partners in that business would get mad at me. And then one of them I actually got like kicked out because they were like, dude, like you missed like 2 of these meetings. And they're like, we can't work with you. And that was like sucked for me because I'm normally like a really good punctual person. I'm accountable, but I literally couldn't do it because I had so much shit going on. No one could possibly keep track of all of it. And I didn't have these like systems in place to do that, which takes a long time to build up. But all of a sudden I just jumped into it. So I realized that I was listening to an Alex Hormozy podcast and he just said, hey, if you're not making $1 million, why do you have fucking 8 things going on? Just have like one thing that you do really well. And then once you do that well, do another thing well. Like stop focusing on so many different things.
Yeah.
And so I cut off like a lot of what I'm doing. So now really the only thing I'm focusing on is like the medical practice and like trading with this company. So
That's good.
what it's allowed me to do is really focus and do all these things that I'm passionate about and do them better. And these things are going to, pay off 10 times more because they're getting my 100%. So anyways, real quick before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to finish up. We were talking about like knowing when to quit. And I don't think it's really like quitting is the wrong word. It's transitioning because everything that you do in life, you're going to have transitional, you're going to attain some type of knowledge or skill set from it, whatever, like literally whatever it is, whether it's freaking skateboarding or becoming like a quant, like whatever it is, you're going to take some type of skills from that and then moving that into the next thing. And I think you kind of just have to like ask yourself internally, like, okay, do I want to do this? Can I imagine this working out? And then explain like why it will work. And if you can't do that, then maybe it is time to transition. But you really like another pitfall of like entrepreneurs that Alex Mosey talks about is, and this is also something I kind of like this one seminar I watched, like my last reference from him. He talks about how entrepreneurs will go like up and then down and then up and then down. They won't really ever get somewhere because they're constantly giving up. Like they're always on to the next hot thing. So it's a fine balance between sticking with one thing and riding it out and going through like the highs and lows, but then also knowing when this thing is burnt and you have to move on to do something else, or this thing isn't meant for you. Yeah. And I think that more is like, there is a way to make money doing it, but it's, and if you keep pushing, 5 years.
Well, what do you think? Do you think it's like, do you keep pushing for 5 years? Like, do you believe that it'll eventually work out if you do it for like the rest of your life?
Well, that's the thing. It's an internal question. It'll work in 5 years. If you work, anything will work. If you fucking wake up, do it, breathe it, live it, you're passionate about it. But the thing is all of a sudden when with drop shipping, for example, I tried drop shipping, I failed. I didn't care. I was just doing it for money. You know? I would wake up, I was like, oh shoot, I have to write an ad for this thing. Oh shoot, I have to, put more money into ad spend. I have to write an article about this new hair loss like hair regrowth product. And I hated it. And that's why it didn't work out. And I'm sure if I stuck with that, I was passionate, I would be a drop shipping like guru by now. But the thing was, it wasn't for me and I needed to move on to the next thing. Okay. So quitting isn't necessarily I'm not making money. It's an internal question of like, do you see yourself doing this in 5 years and you're passionate about it and you care?
Good. All right. I like it.
That's the answer.
All right, this episode is sponsored by thedailytraders.com. Now, if you are interested in learning how to trade in the stock market, I'm actually giving you access to copy my exact trades. That's right. I post my entries and I post my exits, and those who join and desire are able to follow along. So the link will be in the description below. We'll throw a discount code there so you can join, and I look forward to hopefully working with you and seeing you over there. We're going to take one more question, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
All right, so we got this from Derek Mashi Jr.
Shout out.
Best things to do after hours when markets are closed. Now, Mark, you have said that you hate weekends.
Yeah.
Has that changed?
Changed a little, because I said that when I was in LA and I had like no lifestyle there, and it was just work. And I definitely have found more balance in life, which is great. Market closes. I mean, if you want to go work out, that's great. I always, advise people to work out. At the end of the day, I'm exhausted. Right now, it's just 8 o'clock, and so I'm not going to go work out. Market closed, I feel like, is a good time because it's after market hours. And when you're thinking, when the market is active and live, you make decisions more emotionally. I feel like once the market is closed and you sit down and you see how the day closed, what happened with, say Tesla or one ticker you're looking at, you can kind of make a more, you can sit down and make a more logical decision when there's not that real-time, quick-paced, fast something happening.
Yeah, and there's certainly pitfalls to kind of like looking back on trades like, oh shoot, I should have seen this, but
maybe even just making trade plans after hours.
Exactly, but looking back on something and saying, oh, I should have seen this. It's a fallacy because it's easy to look back and say it, but you don't know what emotions you're having in that moment, what else is going on outside of that, what other like stocks you happen to see at the moment. So that is like, try to avoid that. But if you're not logging your trades, then that's like first thing you need to do. Step A. It's like I use Edgewong. I don't know what you use Edgewong too, I think. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like after hours is when I have time to really go in and log my trades.
Exactly.
And look back at the day and how I did. And it's not good to go back and look at a trade in the sense of like, oh, I wish I held that longer, or I sold that too early, whatever the case is. But after hours, when there's nothing happening and you can really focus and make a really good trade plan, that's what I normally do after hours. So, and that's what I did back in LA when 1 o'clock is when the market ended.
Yeah, because you had the whole day left.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Early. And then here, one quick thing before we wrap this up. Our previous guest, Nishant, if you guys haven't seen that episode, you should go watch it. It was super good, filled with knowledge, really cool stories. But he was saying how like with trading, when you start out, you have to live and breathe it. Like on the weekend, like if you're not making money as a trader right now, you should be like religiously studying on the weekends, and then market closes, logging your trades and looking back at what you did and trying to analyze, your strategy and improve it.
Yeah. I think when people think of the stock market, it's open, 9:30 to 4 EST. and you think, oh, those are your working hours. But no, like as a trader, you can work 24/7. You can trade when the market's not open, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's stuff you can do to further your trading. You can't just expect to, use that 6.5 hours a day and become successful at trading. Even a half an hour before market open, a half an hour after. Like in the beginning, you should be up until 11 o'clock at night, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, studying your charts.
It's like the classic like entrepreneur like rash you get on podcasts. But like the reality is,
It is totally what I did,
Trading
though.
is like a PvP game. Like someone else is taking your money out of your pocket, and the person who is probably
Up until like 1 a.m. every morning.
they're probably working their ass off to get there, because you have to be smarter than the last person. Someone who is studying on the weekends and staying after market to educate themselves it's going to take your money. So with that said, I think that media is telling us to wrap it up.
Yeah. All right.
Unfortunately.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I hope you guys did enjoy. I hope this was more fast paced. We're trying to, keep the energy up. You guys have been enjoying the podcast so far. We've got some great guests coming on. Again, go check out the last episode. If you have not, make sure to subscribe. Go leave us a follow on all of our platforms.
A review
What are we
would be
on?
great.
A
Would make me
review, a
really, really
follow.
happy if you would give me a
We
review.
would appreciate it.
Yeah.
You guys, you're great. You're awesome. We're almost at 100. We're getting close to 100K. Dang.
We're at 85.
100K subs.
That's wild.
Coming soon. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace. Bye.